where we're at. So this, when I sent out the blurb, I said this was going to be a continuation of a workshop I ran on the 6th of June. And I said it was sort of, although it's a continuation, it's available also to people who are, didn't make that first workshop. So can I just see on a show of hands, I recognise a lot of faces, but how many of you were here at the, joined me on that first workshop? Okay, so we've got a couple of people who weren't. Don't worry, because I'm going to cover, in my introduction, I'm going to cover the same sort of areas as we covered in that. So in ways, those who were here, well, I think it's still useful to go through what we were doing on that occasion. I've called this the magical sound of the chromatic harmonica, and I think that's, the harmonica has this extraordinary sound, so close to the human voice, and I think particularly, in ways, particularly the chromatic harmonica has that. And it's a sort of, what I want to do this afternoon is really sort of have that in mind. We're going to look at as before, two fairly slow numbers, where it's that sort of sound that we're going to be working on, that sound we're going to be looking at. I said it's for all levels. So again, as I did last time, can I just see, if you count yourself as a beginner, can you just hold up your hand? Okay. Okay, I shall have things certainly focused at beginners. We're going to, in ways, be getting more complicated as we go on, but I'm certainly hoping that there's stuff for you all the way along. If you need to dip out, do feel free. If you sort of think, hang on, this is no longer for me, but I will try to make it absolutely for everyone all the way through. What about intermediate players? Okay, and advanced players? All right, okay. Right, Anthony, that freaks me out, but there you go, welcome. Anyway, good. In the blurb, I said that there will be a chance to play. Now that is partly sort of as we go along, that the chance, and last time some of you did, and that's great. There is no obligation at all to, if you like, quote, perform. Play solo, even if it's just a short snatch of music. But it's great if you feel able to do that, and it's an opportunity to do that. I also said at the end, and I need to possibly check my timing with Sam here, but at the end, I intend to leave sort of quarter of an hour, whatever, for anyone who wants to stick around and just play anything that you play. I said sort of ideally in the folk tradition, because that's where this workshop is centered, but it doesn't have to be. But if you want to play anything and just get some feedback, because in ways, I don't know about you, sometimes we just play in a closed room, a closed environment, and nobody gives us feedback, except for I used to have a dog that gave me feedback. She used to sit at my feet and howl every time I played the harmonica. But we don't get feedback. So if you want to, make use of that, you're very welcome at the end to just, stick around, and we'll just, if anyone wants to play something, great. And I'll give some feedback, which may be, hey, I think that's fantastic. I wish I could play like you, but we'll see, we'll see. So we're going to look at two tunes. They are, as before, fairly simple tunes. We're going to be doing Londonderry Air, which you may know. I hope you're familiar with it, even if you don't play it. And a tune that you probably don't know, which is Lover's Ghost. And I'll explain more about that when we get to it. They're moderately simple. The difficulty is in the technique. And we're going to be playing them slowly, but I always say that slow is really dependent on technique. We can play hell for leather and get away with bum notes. Playing slowly, every note counts, every sound counts. Yeah, and I said the last thing. So in terms of technique, what are we going to do? I'm going to say playing slow depends on your tone, and bear with me those of you who were in my last workshop. It depends on your tone, and we can always go on working, I think, on our tone. It depends on breathing control. And I think people who start the harmonica sometimes are unaware of the fact, the importance of breathing to playing the harmonica. Apparently harmonica players have amazing lungs because we are using our lungs so much in playing this instrument. And it depends, I think, on the dynamics. And Sam, you just talked about the competitions, or David, you were talking about the competitions coming up, and I entered them some years ago. I used to enter with my son, and I remember each time the judge, you know, he was very nicely complimentary on some things, but he always said, what about dynamics? What about the loud and the soft? And maybe, and that's partly it comes for me from playing in a pub in a sort of folk session where everyone plays maximum volume all the way up in order to be heard over the banjos. So, but we in these tunes, I suggest that the dynamics are going to be really important because that's what's going to partly make the music. So those three things. A little bit more talk, and then we're going to get you to be doing some exercises. Tone. I want to look at tone with you first. Tone, I'm going to say, depends on posture, how you sit or how you stand. There's the classic, when I blues, when I count myself as, when I'm a blues player, my posture tends to be somewhere like this, like this, because you're really digging the blues and you're sort of doing, and that is terrible posture for playing the harmonica. We want to be upright, so the air is coming straight up without any sort of constriction in the throat, in the lungs, whatever. Now, I will actually be playing rather like this because I've got a bum on and I have to play that way. But may I say, I expect you to be playing perfectly upright, so the air is just coming up. It depends on the posture. It depends on relaxation, and that's posture, partly posture. But relaxed in the chest, in the shoulders, in the throat, and in the mouth, in the lips. Now, I am working with somebody at the moment who, every time he's playing, is doing this. Yes? Are you a sort of a shoulder, whatever? Because that is stressful. Yes? And I tend to play pucker and tongue block. If you're playing tongue block and you're fighting to get that embouchure, maybe you're very tight around the mouth, because you're trying to get that, that very short embouchure. But to relax the mouth, relax the cheeks, relax the throat, absolutely relaxed, in order to get that tone. There is this debate about tongue block and pucker playing. I know we did this last time. How many of you are tongue block players? Okay, most people, okay, we're getting towards half. Pucker players? Playing like this? Fine. Anyone playing the U shape? No? All right. I had somebody who did that and I could never understand how they played, but right. So I think one of the issues with tongue block, although actually people always say, the tongue block rather say, tongue block gets much better tone. But I was, in preparation for this, I was recording myself playing tongue block and pucker, and I actually wasn't able to hear a particular difference of tone. But I think that's from, being really relaxed over it. Let's just try. We'll do as before. I want you just to play a note. So if we can just keep this thing, is that all right, Sam? Just this gallery. Am I being quite in control of that? I'd like you just to play, I'm going to say blow 4. And just play that. Your mic is off, so we can't hear you. But I want you to be listening to yourself and listening to the sound. And I want you just to play and hear your sound. Hear if it's tight, if it's beautifully open and relaxed. Just give it a go for sort of 3 minutes. Just get that going. Hello, Davina. So all I'm asking you to do, I'm going to play this. I'm not pushing it. I'm not doing that. I'm breathing through the harmonica. I'm letting the harmonica play itself. So we're looking for that beautiful tone. Okay, lovely. So I think, you know, first part of this workshop is, do you ever listen to yourself play? We can hear ourselves. Do you listen to yourself play? Do you record yourself? Does anyone, can I see on hands, does anyone regularly record themselves? Some of you. It's painful because you know, sometimes you think, oh, that sounds really good recording. It sounds awful. But I think it's vital. I use a program called Audacity, Audicity. It's free. And it's, you know, okay, you've got a mic, you record on your PC and you can play back. And it's a great way to hear what sound you're playing. So the tone and the posture. The breathing, vital, and we did some work on this last time. We'll do it again now. It's about breathing, and it's about breathing. I can stand up, it's about breathing into the diaphragm. It's not about breathing here. If I breathe in here, my shoulders go up. If I breathe into the diaphragm, my shoulders are still. And what you can't, well, maybe you can see it, my waist sort of expanding. See my hands there? That's where the air is, in that area there, not here. And then the air is coming straight out there, the breathing. So I take a big breath, but I take it down into the diaphragm. And when I play, that's where I started, and then I just hold that note. Etc. I'd like you just to do that, please. Don't play it loud because you won't last as long. Very softly, listen to the tone and see how long you can play it for. When you've run out of breath, just put the harmonica down again. If you've run out of breath, have one more go. Right, okay. It's a good exercise to do. It's a good exercise because in ways, you know, do we practice with our lungs? And that really good big breath, and then just let it just play out. If you're pushing it, if you're playing loud, you can't breathe for so long. But breathing matters. Breathing to be able to control one's breath. Part of controlling one's breath, which we'll look at later on this afternoon, is actually how to expel air. It's not a problem maybe of breathing, losing our breath. It's a question we're so full up, we're puffed up like a balloon. And it's about how we get rid of our air, which is also part of breathing, but we're going to do that. And another way in ways, and this is where, Sam, I'm going to ask you if you could put up those exercises. Shall I do that or will you do that?
If you've got them open on your
Yeah.
laptop, then it's probably easier if you were to do it.
Okay, so I'm taking it you can still hear me. Part of playing slow is hitting notes very precisely when we're moving around the harmonica. It's knowing those spaces, and that's about mental memory. It doesn't come first, doesn't come immediately, it comes over time. And I said you're going to be working at your own levels here. Now, I've put together a number of exercises, and the tab I've used on this is an arrowhead pointing upwards is a blow note, pointing downwards is a draw note. Okay, so I've got various exercises on that sheet, and I want you to actually choose where you're going to come in on that. Obviously, we've got at the very beginning, so and we've got the scale. Play it as slowly as you can so that you're hearing the sound you're making. Then we've got etc. Okay, slightly more difficult. More difficult still, etc. So we've got a bigger jump. More difficult still is we're doing octaves. And potentially more difficult, still really the same. Etc. going all the way up. So I want you to choose where you're going to pitch yourself on that. All right. So beginners take that first line, possibly the second line. People, you know, if you're a more experienced player, certainly be looking at sort of the, you know, coming up to those octaves. All right. Can I give you, ooh, you know, let's give you sort of 5 minutes to play on that. Play slowly. It's not a race. Listen to the tone. Listen to the accuracy. If you're not hitting a note, just repeat that bit until you get that accuracy in it. Okay, over to you. I'm going to give you 5 minutes and then sort of come back in, as it were. I'm I'm coming out of that. We're sort of around the 5 minutes, but it's very difficult without seeing your faces, knowing where you are on that. So, um, can anyone sort of comment in terms of levels of difficulty? How did you manage that? Some people want to, if people want to put their hands up, can we just sort of turn on their mics? Is that all right? Anyone like to comment on how they found the exercise? No comments? Okay. Can I see on hands? Oh, Jim, were you going to say something?
Hang on, Jim, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
That's weird. It says mute on the top. So it must be an instruction to mute rather than saying you are mute. Anyway. I'm not used to playing to holes. I'm more used to playing to notes.
Right.
So I've found the tab useful in some cases and confusing in another.
Yeah, yeah.
It says hole 6. I'm thinking.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yes. So you're playing by ear. You're learning by ear and playing by ear.
Ear and notes, yes.
Yes, yes, great. Right, lovely. Yes, yeah, yeah.
But
so those jumps, yes, I must say I depend on music, the notation to learn the thing. My ear is not good for remembering. That's age, maybe not ear. But yeah, yeah. Anyone else? Just, do hold up your hands if you want to just comment on anything.
well, just before that, it's certainly useful doing the octave jumps. It really tells you where you are on the harmonica if you do the octave jumps.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. Does anyone else do the octave jumps? Can we just see? Right. Would anyone like to play the octave jumps?
No.
No, nor me. You notice I opted out halfway up.
Tony, I'm sorry. I've just joined because we had trouble with the router and
Okay.
we couldn't get onto the meeting.
All
Okay.
right. You're very welcome. All right.
Yes.
You're very welcome. We're just talking about some of the techniques that we're going to be using when we come on to the music in a moment. All right. So one of those techniques, and you're going to see some of those sort of we're going to, one of the pieces we're looking at has that jump. And obviously that needs to be accurate. If it's, it's wrong. No. Having that jump absolutely clear without all that in between. One of the skills of harmonica, isn't it, is somehow, how do we do that, of cutting the breath for a tiny fraction as we move up? Does anyone use tongue, the tongue, I don't know what it's called, tongue wag or something, to get those octaves by moving the tongue? Anyone do that?
Is it tongue switching, Tony?
Tongue switching.
I picked up, I'd never heard of it before. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd never heard of it before until I went to one of the festivals at Bristol where Pip Murphy was playing. And with him, you can see him doing that all the time.
That's the jaw flick, maybe.
Tony, can I just say Philip Jers did a very good demonstration of it in the Chromatic Weekend.
Right.
And that video will only be up till the 1st of October. So if anybody wants to watch that, they should watch it in September. But it was an excellent workshop.
Thank you. Somebody I'm working with at the moment is using the tongue, what's it called? The tongue?
Switching.
I call it the jaw, but that's just because I call it that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it is. I think that's what it's called. And somebody I'm working with does tongue switching, and so I've said, I don't think that's the way it is. It is, and so it is a bona fide way. All right, let's though move on. So we've thought about, very briefly, we've thought about tone. Tone is going to be vital to the way we're playing this afternoon. That's about relaxation. We thought about breathing, controlling our breathing so that the air flows out. All right, and we have enough air and we don't have too much air. And we've talked very briefly about this need to know the harmonica, to know your way around the harmonica. So beginners, one of the suggestions I would have is sometimes pick up the harmonica and just play any tune that comes into your mind. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star is a great one. Just anything that comes out into your mind so you are getting used to where things are on the harmonica. All right, so let's have a look. Sam, do you want to take us into London Derriere, which we're going to look at together? I'm going to change harmonica into something that I hope will play better.
Have you got that open on your?
I haven't. Do you want me to pull it
No,
up?
I can do it if you want. If
Yes.
you just give me a second and.
So I have a very warm harmonica. It's been sitting on a hot water bottle in the hope that it doesn't pop.
Tony, can I mention that the notes, I can read the notes on the normal stave, but I struggle a bit when I get above the stave and the ledger lines, and I tend to get a bit lost there. Then that's when I have to look at the tab.
David, so do I. Always have struggled above. Okay, so we've got the London Derriere. What we're going to do is I'll play it through first, but then I'm going to ask, we'll do the sort of, call response. I'm going to do a phrase, I want you to play the phrase, and we're going to take it really slowly. Going to start on that whole four. Okay, it has some challenges, partly going right up to that high sort of C and then that high E. Let's play it as a chord response. I'm going to play the first sort of 2 bars, and then I'm going to ask you to play it after me. We're just going to go through it like that and talk about it as we go. So this first one, can you just play that? Okay. I'm going to say this is potentially one of the most difficult parts of the whole piece. It's those first 3 notes. I think as harmonica players, we all have a tendency to pull on the draw notes. And they should be leading into that blow 6. So we're aiming for that. Can you just try that? Just those first two bars. So we're getting it leading up into that blow 6. Just play that. Have a go. Okay. Now, if we were one-to-one or all in a room, I'd be doing it differently like this, but we're constricted by, by Zoom here. But if I go on, can we play that? So you're lifting up into that 7 draw, that A. Up, you're lifting up into that. Can we hear that? And I want you to really focus on the sound you're making. Let's just play those 2 bars. you just play that to us? Or just take that. And then I'm going to take it from the next, from the 5 in the last bar. And there's a difference, isn't there, between playing the single notes and beginning to play the notes as a phrase. I always think of this as learning to read or reading a book. Initially, we sort of read letters, k, a, t. We then put them into a word, cat. The word starts making up a phrase. The cat sits. The phrase starts making a sentence, the cat sits on the mat. And we gradually incorporate these. Now, I could play this as okay, it's accurate, but it's not music. I need to put this into a phrase. Yes, and I'm putting it into a phrase. Just have a go again for that, really that sort of first line and through into the second line there. Just have a go with it on your own again. Really phrasing it now, putting it into a phrase. So I also, at the end of that line, I want you to play that and think of the harmonica as the human voice now. So you are singing that. It's different from playing, whatever, the banjo, but you are singing it. How can you get that sound out of your harmonica? Okay. And the first part repeats itself, doesn't it? So this is the end of the second line there on that, that 5 draw. So have a go with that last bit or any of that first, that I'm calling that the A part, the first section. And listen to your tone. Think about your posture. Are you sitting back straight? Think about relaxed. Are you totally relaxed in the chest, in the diaphragm, in the shoulders, in the neck? So hear your tone. Think about that breathing. And then we come to the B part, which I suggest is more challenging because we've got these high notes in it. And I'll keep with this harmonica, although it's not brilliant on the upper end. I'll change to another one in it. But we're taking it from the sort of third line. Can you play that for me? And then it's a similar one after that, isn't it? Really smoothly as you can, as smoothly as you can. And here's the challenge, because this note, certainly on a C chromatic, the notes are starting to get rather thin and rather squeaky at the top. And I suggest what we do for that top note is breathe through the harmonica rather than thinking about blowing a note. If I'm blowing, I'm forcing it, which is fine if it's going to play. If it doesn't, it just clams up. But I breathe through it. And then I can increase the volume when the note is responding. Just try that phrase. So this is the last but one line. And then the end is and I'm slowing it right down towards the end. In my earlier workshop, I said to put yourself in a context. Think of a context where you are playing this music. Grant Dermody, diatonic player, talks about grounding yourself before starting to play a tune. Certainly if you're playing, you're playing in front of other people, ground yourself, put yourself in the place of the tune and play that. First time I played London Derriere was, we were in the States, and I'd gone along to a sort of music session, jam session in a local bar, and had the normal thing of, what do you play? I play the harmonica, and they look crestfallen at that stage. But then they sort of finally say, do come up and play, and then they're fine. And I played something, and then there was a pause for people to get drinks. Somebody came up to me, and she was English, and she'd been in the States for something like, 15 years. And I said, where are you from? She said, oh, you wouldn't know. I said, go on, where are you from? She says, Nuneaton. Now, Nuneaton is about 8 miles from where I live. So, whatever. And we started talking, and she said, do I play the London Derriere? I said, no, I know it. She said, well, would you play it? She said, my dad in England, he was from Ireland. He died 2 weeks ago. I couldn't go to the funeral. It was his favourite tune. So I played the London Derriere. And to talk about sort of centering it, this was in floods of tears. it was the first time I'd reduced anyone to tears playing the harmonica, but she was in floods of tears, and she was in a group, and all her group were in tears, with her, and it's sort of powerful stuff. But where are you when you're playing the London Derriere? Are you sitting at home, in your room, outside? I think of myself perhaps up a mountain, with this amazing view in front of me, and I'm playing this to the wind. Where are you? Because I suggest that if you get that, you center yourself in it, and you play the London Derriere, it starts to have a sense of meaning to it. You will bring emotion into it, which otherwise maybe we lose. So what I'd like to do is give you 3-4 minutes to just play around with the London area. You won't necessarily, you know, some of you will still maybe be on the first line. Some of you will have finished. And at the end of that, I'll ask if there are any volunteers for somebody to play the Londonderry air to us. I hope there'll be a couple of people brave enough. Over to you. I'll leave the music up so you can use that and give you just sort of 5 minutes. Actually, probably like 4 minutes, but there you go. Okay, I'm going to, we still need it up, don't we? Sam, I'm going to ask you to help on this, but is there anyone who would like to play that to us? Anyone feel brave enough?
Yeah, go on. I'll give it a go.
Thank you.
Here we go. I've been having a bit of problem with my wind savers popping. That's why I've been fiddling around with it. But here we go. Okay.
Well done, that was great. Thank you, Bob. Lovely. Can I make one comment, which is possibly about trying to just work on that phrasing. So almost sort of see a pattern in it. Um, So see one note as moving into the next note. Again, think of it as being a sentence or a paragraph. Everything is joined together. So we're thinking about how that phrase, how that sentence sounds. But lovely, lovely playing. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please. Thought. Yeah, go for it. Lovely. Well done. Well done. We were missing the top notes there. Though I don't know. We were missing the top notes. It might have been your mic or something.
Must be.
But you know, lovely, lovely. Yes. And somebody said you know they liked your phrasing. Yes, absolutely. Lovely, lovely. Okay, take one more. Otherwise, we're going to go on to the next piece of music.
Tony, could I play it? But my ending will be slightly different if you don't mind.
Go with it. It's a nice ending. It's a nice ending. Well done, Barry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you had some interesting phrasing where you slightly altered the phrasing, but that makes it, you know, that makes the piece interesting as well. Sometimes when we just make those slight alterations to it, I think you know there's this business. Again, if people listen to themselves, beware of this drag on the draw note, and that's we have that tendency just to pull the draw note. And that's again about breathing control there, isn't it? Let's move on. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on The Lover's Ghost. It's I think one of my favourite pieces of music. It came off a Martin Simpson CD, the Bramble Briar, and I loved it. He was playing it on the guitar, and I loved it and sort of learnt it on the harmonica. And then recently, I sort of dug out the music for it for this. I've put it into C for playing today. C's a bit high because it gets a bit screechy, but I'm just going to play it to you. And it's one where I think it's very elastic, so the timing is very elastic. That's basically it. The second part we'll have a look at maybe in a moment of this. I just slightly change it with some changing the G to a G sharp, just to give it a bit of variety. It's very simple. It's a very, very simple tune, and I find it absolutely beautiful. Does anyone know it? Can we just see in a show of hands if anyone knows it? Okay, so this is going to be, we're going to take this from scratch. Some jumps. That first one. And we need to get that absolutely accurate. Have a go with it. So really accurate on that jump. Actually, I'm going to find now the harmonica, this one. Right. Play that phrase, and it is a phrase. It all goes together. That one note flows into the other. And then the next phrase is almost identical. Again, we've got this jump. And holding that note, holding that draw 7, the A. Okay, so that first two section. Okay, try that. Try those two together. And then the third sort of phrasing in it, starting on that 7 draw. And I play around with it. So I'm quite elastic with it. That's the way I choose to play it. And then it's sort of coming in from that A, that 3 draw. If anyone does, I'm just thinking of Jim, if you're learning by ear, if you want to sort of let me have an email address, I could send you, I have just recorded just the straight tune for a pupil of mine. I could send it through to you if you want, so you've got the sounds to listen to learn it from. I think it's a lovely, lovely piece. But you know, maybe through Sam if you want to. So let me just play this first part then. And it's a very simple tune. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Have a go with it. Have a go. Give you a couple of minutes. Okay. I'm going to. Can I just sort of play you it with the second, the second verse, if you like, where I just alter it very slightly. I think the tune is so simple that every note counts, and we can really pull out the notes, particularly where I just vary it. And what I do with this is I take it into go to the devil and shake yourself. I'll just play a tiny bit of that. Sometimes when I'm playing, or playing something like this in whatever pub or somewhere, I choose something very slow, like The Lover's Ghost, and then I'll add it to something faster, so that we get that feeling of slow and fast, and the two in ways emphasise each other. So I'll take it into Lover's Ghost, into Ghost of the Devil. so putting the two together starts making, I think, a set, a nice set of music. So let me come out. Well, I won't. Would anyone like to play "The Lovers Goes to Us"? Anyone feel confident with it at the moment? That's a big ask.
I don't mind giving it a go, but it'll be
Please do.
a straight version.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
You'll notice that Davina was actually playing the notes right, as opposed to me, who's got too used to playing it without music and then making it my own. That's lovely. Yeah, lovely. Anyone else? I said to center yourself when you're playing this. Actually, yesterday I was thinking about this and thinking that I wouldn't mind this being played at my funeral. Thinking I'll record this and it can be played at my funeral, because I think it's a wistful, to me it's very wistful. It's full of love, it's full of emotion, and also that sort of sense of wistfulness about it. I think it would be lovely at my funeral. I hope it's not going to be very, very soon, but I would love that sort of to be there. Okay. Would anyone else like to have a go? Otherwise, I'll sort of call this bit to an end. Okay. Do keep going with with that. Oops, I've come out of that. Sorry. Let's. Sam, you're going to have to help me. I've lost everyone.
Yeah, I was doing the sharing there.
All right.
So I've unshared now.
Okay.
So what can you see?
Oh, I've got you all now. That's better. Lovely. That's good. I've got you. Right. Now, I said that at the end of this session, if we stop there and, do go on with The Lover's Ghost if you like it. Beautiful, beautiful piece on harmonica. And if you do want a recording of that, it's a bum recording. It's just something I did with somebody I'm working with. I'm very happy to send it through you. If you send Sam details, then I can sort of just send you an email with it. I said at the end, if anyone would like to play anything, just to us, and just get some feedback. You don't have to do it. It's pretty terrifying, but it's an opportunity. So, over to you if anyone would like to. Can we see on hands or anything? I haven't got all the hands there, though. Do we have any takers? Yes, a couple. I'm going along with this. So, Roger and then Anthony, all right? Roger. Great, thank you.
Yeah, hi there. Hello.
Hello.
I've got a tune I've been practicing called DG178, and it's a traditional song, and it's played by a group called War, as WOR. It's a sort of it's a Belgian song. I'll try it.
Nice. Well done. Do you want to play it once more? Could you just play it once more? It's nice.
Okay.
That's lovely. So is it, did you say it's a Belgian song?
Yeah. It says here it's written in 1746 in Antwerp in Belgium, and it's from a group called WOR. There's two dots over the R, so I think they're a Scandinavian group,
Right, right.
and they played it. They played a lot faster. You'll get it on YouTube if you're interested.
Right. Yeah, and what you're doing quite rightly is you're starting it slowly, and you build up speed, once you've got those notes absolutely sorted, don't you? It's nice. I like that sort of slight flick of the slide at the end, just to do that accidental you've got on it. It's presumably it's a dance tune, and
Yeah,
therefore in ways just to get that sort of rhythm to it, so that people are tapping their feet to it. I have a friend who sings in folk clubs, and she was given the advice once, everybody should be tapping their feet to what you're doing. And I was starting to tap my feet to what you were doing there, and I think you're getting it. It's almost just being that familiar with it, so we don't have those slight pauses between one section. If they're dancing, they're going on with it. You want to get that sort of
yeah, yeah,
pushing rhythm to it, which you get in a dance. But it's lovely. It's got that sort of French feel to it, hasn't there? There's something about the mode of French.
yeah. A little bit of a minor mode to it, isn't there?
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
lovely. It's really nice. It's unusual. Yeah. Yeah, and just one other comment is in terms of the those jumps. There's a jump, isn't there? And it's not quite coming in on time, or
Yeah,
accurately, slightly missing it. So just sometimes, and I can't remember what it was, but so. And just do, just repeat and just play it, pick up the harmonica in 30 seconds of just doing that. Do that exercise on the octaves or whatever, just to get those where it's memory, muscle memory there that comes
yeah,
in.
yeah.
There's no automatically where it is. But it's lovely. Go on with it. Beautiful.
Right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very nice. Anthony, are you going to play something? You're muted at the moment. That's it. Got you.
I'll play something, see if anybody recognizes it. I think that's enough of that.
I don't think it's enough of it. I think that was lovely. That's quite a challenging piece. It's beautiful, beautiful. One comment. I am a hand wagger. If I play, can you see me? But when I play the harmonica, and this is a habit, I tend to do this all the time. So I could have been playing, and it's got to be a habit. Now I've tried to tame it so that when I do that sort of vibrato, so I'm doing a very, very gentle, I'm not actually cupping the hands, I'm just doing it, just gently interfering with the air flow, if you like. And I tend to do it on high notes, which can be a bit sort of thin, and it just helps, I think, take that sharpness of, not sharp in terms of sharp and flat, but take that sort of tinniness off them, of just that very slight. But just, you know, I think slightly beware or choose when you're going to do, and choose the moments, rather than maybe it's being done automatically all the way through. But it was lovely and beautiful tone, and I like the phrasing, both of you. I thought the phrasing was great. Lovely phrasing. Very nice. Yeah, you should be doing a workshop next year, both of you. Anyone else? That was great. Lovely playing. And I loved the way you slightly accentuated those, you know, when there was the button going in, slight accentuation, beautiful. Anyone else? Right. I suggest we call it a day. I hope that's been helpful. If you have any comments about the time I'm giving you to practice, please do, because it's so difficult on a Zoom. If it's face to face, you know, I know. In a room, I know. And it's classic, you know. I'll give you 5 minutes, and then 5 minutes seems far too long, and maybe 5 minutes isn't long enough. But just very interested to know, so I can get my acts together more on that. But I hope it's been useful. I see there are some. I just want to make sure if any questions I should be answering.
There's just one from Jim saying, would you like to say anything about the harmonicas you play?
Yes, by all means. So I've been playing 3 because I'm so terrified of the wind savers, and you know it's the bane of my life. So I was partly playing. It's an old Hohner 270, which they're lovely. You know, it's a wooden body, beautiful tone. I think, you know, you know, these old wooden bodies have a lovely tone to them. And I don't often get it out, but I enjoy that. One of my sort of workhorses at the moment is the Suzuki Chromatics. It's very thin at the top, and I play it because I don't necessarily play it, you know, when I'm sort of performing and wanting it to sound good. I happened to pick it up by mistake at one stage this afternoon, so I was playing it. And yuck! It's not a. I don't think it's a pleasant sound. It's a good instrument. You know, it's a good instrument. It's a nice. I call it a sort of. It's a workhorse. It's a nice instrument. So it's my favourite. It's a Seidel Saxony. I don't know if anyone plays these. It's a nice tone. It's good in a sort of in a pub situation, if you're playing in a session, because it's a bright instrument. You know, it cuts through the banjos. Anything that can cut through the banjo is a. And it's nice, sharp. You know, it's bright. So I tend to play that. The bane of my life with this is that the wind savers pop in the wet weather, in the colder weather. Hence having, you know, the harmonica chromatic warmer, hot water bottles. I try all sorts of things. I try sometimes in a pocket. I tend to put them in the breast pocket. I also put them down the front of my sort of shirt, you know, next to my skin. And since I might have 4 or 5 different ones I'm playing, I look incredibly pregnant by the end of the evening as I'm fishing around for the right chromatic. I don't know, what do other people do? Jim was saying he puts it in his pocket. Jim Hughes, who used to give me some lessons, always said, you know, I said to Jim, I did that. He said, oh, well, it will pick up all the fluff and all the, you know, you don't want to look at my pockets. It will pick up all the dirt in that. But, you know, it's certainly next to the body temperature is good, you know, certainly. And, you know, the warmer I've got is at body temperature. No, you're holding up something. Ah, okay. Little hotties. Yes. You use those?
I have a sidle case,
Yeah.
a heated case,
Yes.
which is great. But when I was playing at pubs and cold halls, I would take that out with me, and 20 minutes or so, they're great. And I usually have two on the go. So if things are getting a bit sticky, I've got one in hand. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yes.
But they're not. It's not very environmentally friendly. They're natural, but you've got to throw them away after you use them.
You see, you know, I'm pulling this out of my harmonica case. So this goes in as one way of keeping them warm. And after, you know, it cools after a while, but it's the bane of our life. And possibly, has it got worse as harmonicas are using other materials? It was never, I don't remember it being a major case with the wooden body Hohner. And it seems to me maybe, I suspect this Seidel has got a sort of metal body of sorts, or acrylic body, but I suspect that, you know, these are more prone to condensation than the wooden bodies.
Tony, the Saxony has an aluminium body.
Right.
They do the session. The steel. The next one down has got an acrylic one. But I was having real troubles just warming up before playing with popping, and that's what drives me nuts about the chromatic. So I tend to half valve diatonics and play that with ultra suede, but it's no good, I found out, for chromatics because it's too floppy. It doesn't pop and they don't stick, but because all the half valving ones the gravity holds them down, you don't have to worry about it because the flop holds them down rather than flopping away from the valve. So I was going to ask you that same question. How do I stop if it does pop, is it a disaster? Will it get better the next time or what?
I don't know if other people have the answer to that. I don't think it gets, you know, I think what causes the popping is a build-up of dried saliva on the reeds plate, a bit of stickiness. I now, when I'm playing in the pub, when I'm playing the harmonica, I never drink alcohol because the sugar in the beer. My chromatics used to last me about 3 months, 4 months, and it was really quite an expensive business. They now last me, you know, years. Although the popping starts, but the reeds are okay. I think it's partly the saliva. I think I'm a wet player, but when I play, I tend to play down like this, partly because of the way I'm holding the harmonica now. I think if I was to play like that, they might pop less because there's less saliva going into the harmonica. I brush my teeth now. If I've eaten, after lunch today, I brushed my teeth, and you know, with my teeth you have to sort of use an interdental brush as well, but I did that in order to remove all the particles of food. Now I remember hearing somebody years ago talking about that. I thought, oh God, how sad. But actually I need to do it now because particles of food getting into the chromatic are going to mess up the reed plates, are going to mess up the valves. So that's a very long answer, and the answer is no, I don't have any solution. I wish I did.
Somebody told me if you put a cigarette paper, Rizzler cigarette paper in, you can dry them out, but that doesn't stop it happening the next time you blow into it.
It becomes, in the winter, I end up, almost I end up playing diatonics through the winter months in the pub because I have such problems with popping. The alternative is, you know, and my sidle actually it is losing tune, and this is going to John Cook. I was hoping to get it to John Cook before this workshop, but he's just gone on holiday, and I don't, you know, regret that for him. But this needs, you know, it needs a look at, and it probably needs revalving. I do replace valves, my valves, but never that successfully, I think.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
There are, and there are lots of other ways.
That it's not just me.
Not at all. Brendan Power has ideas in terms of cutting the top layer of a valve further back, and also, as other people have said, slightly snipping the corners of the wind saver.
I've seen that YouTube video.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet, but I'm willing to try.
I've tried it, and I'm not sure if it's necessarily been particularly successful. But actually, you know, I have been warming these 3 harmonicas during this workshop. So 2 in the box, the warmer, and 1 in my other box with a hot water bottle, and they haven't popped.
Do you ever wash them? Wash the reed plates at all?
No, I don't.
Get rid of the saliva, the dried saliva.
Yeah, that would mean taking off all the wind savers.
All right.
I would have thought. I don't know. I would have thought it would. Does anyone replace their own wind savers?
Yes, otherwise it costs a fortune.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And successfully. How do I get?
Yeah, yes. Not when I first started. It was a nightmare. I made some silly mistakes, but you learn by them. Yeah, and I've got a pack of wind savers. I find the Suzuki doesn't go very often. Seidel's been quite reliable. I don't have to. I clean my harmonicas quite a lot though. I clean them after every use. I clean the slide. Just keep them clean after you use them is really important, to let them dry out. I keep them open overnight with a cloth over them. What I do is I have I put that in to keep it open and keep it popped, which is you can use a cocktail stick, but it's a bit thing. This is half a cotton bud little thing. It's plastic, and only just keep it open a tiny bit. And I have very little problem except in the winter. And I live by the sea, so we get a lot of condensation. But you sort of manage it, really.
I think that's a great idea in terms of the cotton bud. You know, I think that sounds really useful. Yeah. Anyone else got tips? We could all do with them. And actually, just clean. You know, I'm not good at cleaning, you know, my harmonicas often enough. And you know, I'm a wet player. I know that. I can, you know, certainly if I'm playing fast, then you know, the saliva gets going, and that's not good. Any other points or queries or whatever? We'll stop there.
No, that's
Thank you for joining in. Thank you very much for joining in. I hope it's been fun, and I hope it's been useful. Okay. Bye-bye. Good playing.
Thanks, Tony. I say it's brilliant how you engage everyone, get everyone to play as well. Which I say, of all the workshops, I think you lead on that. But also, I think the way you critique things, it's very, very sort of very gentle and very, very encouraging. So you know, I think a lot of sort of tutors could sort of take a leaf out of your book. And I think the other thing as well is these little discussions at the end, I think are really, really quite are valued, you know, because we might have lost 2 or 3 people in the last half an hour. So I think, you know, that sort of worked very well as well. So just thank you so much again. I say, you know, these sessions really do rely on the goodwill of all the wonderful players we have in the country. So perhaps one time soon you may come back. Might be next year now.
Yeah, I've certainly enjoyed doing them. So I would love to.
Oh, mind you, if it's winter, then you might be diatonic till the spring.
Can I just say, if anyone plays diatonic, and if you play certainly Irish music, if you haven't come across Joel Anderson, look him up on YouTube. He's amazing. He uses low octave diatonics, and he's fantastic. I'm having occasional lessons from him. He's great. So do Joel Anderson, Andersson. He's great. Good.
Okay, now then, folks. Yeah.